All right. Late Night Ramblings Part 2. I just watched my other video. It sucked. And so I'm redoing it. I actually leave the other one up just because it's funny to see it suck so much. And how I'm not really paying, not really, it's, as I said, Late Night Ramblings. That's what happens. But let me rephrase what I was saying in my other video. So, first thing I wanted to say is, I'm glad Theoretical Bullshit and Veritas 48 are back. Veritas has actually commented. I did something on his refuting the God delusion, he's a very, he's an upright person. I think he's wrong on a lot of his views, but he makes an effort and he does what he needs to do, which is great. And Theoretical Bullshit, yeah, I'm glad that guy's back. He's just, I watched every video he has, and it's awesome. And I don't know why anybody argues with him. He's doing the thing on Prop 8, and nobody should argue with that guy ever. You're just right, Scott, no matter what, even if it doesn't make sense. You make it sound good. But anyway, I wanted to go through the aspect of I had a thought process about the God of the gaps or the I don't know factor. And a lot of times when theists make arguments about God, I've been watching Coctopus do a thing on that Wendy chick who's horrible, and Richard Dawkins is interviewing her, and and it seems to be like whenever they with religion they would just want to say, well, God fills in every single gap, and they're like, okay, well, if you don't know something, well, therefore it's God, all right? You don't know where morality came from, so that proves a God. Law is the God is the lawgiver. God is the morality giver. Which why? Because you said it. The moralities that He gave are not true, and then you use your own morality to determine if that morality is true or not. So that didn't come from God. And if He did come from God, then He put it into us, not into the book. And so therefore, by using our own morality to look at the book and saying, well, that is not true and that is true, or this is moral and this is not moral, then that would falsify the Bible. Because the Bible is supposed to be the Ten Commandments. Here's what's supposed to be moral and what's not moral. Yet we can look at that and say, well, wait a second, that's not really moral. We really shouldn't stone our kids. Okay, we don't see that as morality. So either you have to believe that God put morality into our heart or into us, and therefore we use that morality to look at the book, but then that would invalidate the book, because the book says, or what you're saying is that Bible gives us, or the Quran or whatever, gives us our morality. We get our morality from that book, but yet we can say the morality comes from us, and we can then look at the book and falsify it. Therefore, you can't use the book as a reason for God, because apparently we didn't need the book, or the book is wrong because we can use our own morality given to us from God to justify not believing in the book. So anyway, that just came out of nowhere. So the point being, my original point was just to say, when we feel that things are, when a theist looks in things and says, hey, look, this argument, here's a problem, or here's something we don't understand, so therefore it's God. You don't understand abiogenesis yet, so therefore God created us, and then evolution is the mechanism to, well, when we didn't know enough about evolution, then it was God who did it, and then once we get enough facts and enough evidence and science progresses, then it's like, well, that's the mechanism, and they just keep, moving the goalposts. And they want to say that if you don't know, like, we're never going to know this, so since we don't know it, it's got to be a God, it's got to be an all-knowing creator that did those things. Which is not true. Why? Why does that have to be the answer? Why can't it just be, well, that's just the way it is. That's just the way it happened. There's millions of possibilities, but that's the way it happened. So, and with theists, it's so I don't want to say unethical, but it's just not. It's not true, because when they go through their own when I've gone to church, I've gone to churches, I've gone to synagogue, I've gone to a bunch of different things, and when you have a question, you ask them, but they don't like, well, they can't come up with an answer. If I talk to a priest, or if I talk to someone in the church, and I ask them a question, they don't come up with an answer. All they say is, well, God works in mysterious ways, or you have to ask God about that, or you'll have to meditate on that, or you'll have to think about that, or ask God for the answer. And so, henceforth, saying we don't know. So they're okay with we don't know. They're okay with I don't know. They just deposit it on God's shoulders and say, well, we don't know, so God, God will have to tell you that. But when an atheist says, well, we don't know the answer to that, they're like, well, see, it's God. Okay, so you don't have an answer for that, so therefore it's God. And they're just taking it. So they're just taking it one more step, and they're just throwing God in there, where an atheist just says we don't know, and the theist says we don't know, so therefore God. So anyway, which is just an angle, because if you watch the atheist experience, a lot of times Matt Dillahunty says, we just don't know, and all of a sudden that goes from there. One other thing I want to talk about that popped into my head is about the universe, and it wasn't until it popped in my head. I want to give the person credit. I should look him up and figure out who it was, but I watched so many videos recently, and he talked about the universe and different constructs of the universe. Time being one of them, space being another one, movement being another one, and one of the things that this is also against William Lane Craig, when they talk about the universe being a singularity, and a lot of times they want to say, well, what? Or when I say they, I mean theists. They say, well, before, what created the universe? If God was the motion giver, deists use this. He created and then disappeared, okay, or lets things go and created all the laws and the rules, and it goes from there. But the concept of asking what came before the Big Bang or what came before the universe is one that doesn't exist. Outside of our universe, there is no time. There might be a multiverse somewhere. There might be the possibility of things coming into and out of existence where there is no time. Outside of that, time is a construct of the universe. Just for example, the universe can't move somewhere. How would it move? There's nothing outside of it. So there's only the universe. So people always want to say, well, what's out here? If the universe is expanding, that's a concept, that's very hard to understand, even for myself. How is the universe expanding if there's nothing outside of it to expand into? Okay, then there has to be something bigger than the universe for it to expand. But no, all space and time is in the universe. It's a construct of the universe, and it can expand because there's nothing. What can it expand to? Well, that's just all there is. So even though the universe, so when you think of the universe as a singularity, you think of the Big Bang and it being a singularity, well, at one point, everything was in one spot. So therefore, there can be no time. There can be no space. There can be no up or down. There could be no first, second, or third dimension. There's no 3D, 2D, 1D when everything's in one singularity. Everything's in one point. So can it expand? Yes, because the fact that whether it's this big or this big or this big, that's all there is. All right. So what is it expanding into? Well, the same thing that it was when it was a single point. Okay, there's nothing. There just is. So to ask what is outside the universe or what is before the universe is it's a question of saying, well, what is a rounded square? Okay, well, once you round a square, it's not a square anymore. It's a circle, or it's something else other than a square. A square is these are what a square is. Rounding it, changing it, makes it a mute question. It doesn't turns to something else. Okay, or it's not, at least it's not a square anymore. And to say what is before the universe, well, time. In order for time to pass, and this is noted in Zeno's paradoxes. In order for time to pass, there has to be space. Space and time are two symbiotic concepts. Okay, in order for there to be something from here to here, there has to be time to get from here to here. There's an amount of time that has to take place because there is space, there's time, and the same vice versa. If there was no space, if there's nothing, if there's only one thing, then there's no space, there's no time, there's nothing to interact with something else. All time is a passage of one state to another state, a movement of something to another. So if everything is in one spot, then there cannot be any time. So to say what was before that, well, nothing was before that because there was no time, because nothing was moving. There was nothing, everything was one. It's one singularity, and therefore no time, no space, no time, and all of it's as one.